Hello and welcome to a special edition of the podcast with even more glitz and glamour than usual. That's because it's an RG10 on film and TV spectacular. First, let's go way back. The story behind who invented cinema is a rather murky one. Some say it was the Lumiere brothers who in December 1895 in Paris showed moving pictures to an audience using a device they put together called the cinematograph. However, a year earlier, that spectacularly prolific inventor Thomas Edison had come up with the kinetoscope, allowing a viewer to watch the action through a peephole. The development of television is also a little complicated, but all you really need to know is that John Logie Baird was absolutely, definitely the main man, and because he's British, there is no need to delve any deeper than that. British in the same way that Andy Murray is British. Now, all of those who push at the boundaries of scientific exploration need something that inspires them, something to keep them going when they're met by doubt and failure. And for these makers of history, could it have been that their motivation was to capture the area of RG10 on the screen, to make heroes of the people of Twyford, Charville, Ruscombe, Hurst and Wargrave? It can't be proven one way or the other, as it is a secret they all took to their graves. But over the next few minutes you're going to be hearing evidence which I think conclusively proves that this is exactly what the Lumiere brothers and John Logie Baird had in mind when they rushed down to the patent office. Let's start then in 1899, the birth year of Fred Astaire, James Cagney, Alfred Hitchcock and Humphrey Bogart. But perhaps more significantly, that year saw the release of the documentary film simply entitled Wargrave. Now, I'll be honest with you, details of the film are a little sketchy. According to the Internet Movie Database, it fits into the baby zebra playing hide-and-seek category. In other words, the film was short, black and white and silent. But let's face it, all films back then would have been short, black and white and silent, so that doesn't really help. If there is anyone out there who does have a copy of Wargrave, do get in touch and we'll try and arrange a screening. 16 years after the release of Wargrave, a star was born in Ruscombe. His name was Dennis Price, and he is without doubt the greatest film actor to have come from around these parts. His most famous movie role was probably as the lead in the 1949 picture Kind Hearts and Coronets, in which he played a suave serial killer.
When I've finished, I shall kill you. You will be the sixth Esquire that I've killed. It's clear that you are insane. Give me that gun at once. No. From here, I think the wound should look consistent with the story that I shall tell.
Alongside him was Sir Alec Guinness, a.k.a. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who played all 8 of Dennis's victims. Now, Price was an actor described as refined, self-centred, caddish and contemptuous of a world inhabited by inferiors. Everything about him was deceptive. He could be penniless and still manage to look as if he owned the bank. But behind all that grand talk and lordly ways, there skulked in his characters the most ordinary of shabby, grasping souls. Fast forward a number of years now to 1964.
Planet.
Nightmare.
You found me out there, didn't you? That part of it wasn't a dream. Where does the dream finish and reality begin?
Are you dreaming, Janet? Are you sleeping? Or is this a waking nightmare? What is it? An evil curse? An insane hoax? A nightmare? Or cold-blooded murder? Nightmare! Shocking, 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 shocking.
This is a Hammer film called, guess what? Nightmare, where a young woman is plagued by nightmares of her asylum patient mother. Upon returning to her family home, the nightmares become real when she sees a strange woman pacing the halls. And here is the star of the film, called Janet, returning home via Wargrave Station.
I wonder why Henry couldn't meet us.
Probably waiting for you at home.
Is Mr. Baxter at home, John?
Mr. Baxter? I don't think so, Miss Janet.
It is nice to see you again, John.
It's nice to see you again, Miss Janet. I hope everything's all right.
Why?
Home in the middle of term. I thought perhaps you weren't well.
I'm perfectly well, thank you.
It's the first of many film and TV appearances by local train stations, and it is genuinely fascinating to see how much Wargrave Station has changed. There's a proper sizable brick-built building on the platform, toilets, wooden benches, a station guard. I'm not saying that some of this wasn't set dressing, but it certainly looks like the real deal. The car park hasn't changed much, apart from a set of big gates at the exit. But let's not leave just yet, because the world of showbiz returned to the station in 1979 with the movie version of the hit TV comedy Porridge. You can see Wargrave in the film's opening sequence as prisoners get off a train and make their way into a prison van. It then cuts to the van driving through snowdrifts in Cumbria, which seems rather odd when we all know that it should be making its way down Station Road. Incidentally, here's one for all you train spotters. Horton's Guide to Britain's Railways in feature films says that the train featured is a Class 117 DMU. On to 1991, and it's everyone's favourite lovable rogue of an antiques dealer, Lovejoy.
Yes, I want to speak to Adjutant Alan Bernard, please. I want to leave an urgent message. Yeah. Michelle Lamore will be at Higham Hall, Wargrave, PM today. Be there. Lovejoy.
Of course, there is no Higham Hall in Wargrave, there is no Michelle Lamore in the local phone directory, but the scenes filmed on the River Thames are very real indeed. It has got everything. Chase sequences along the water with gendarmes shooting at French master criminals, comedy pratfalls where our heroes' hapless helpers fall into the drink, and of course, it all ends with Lovejoy being Lovejoy.
Hello.
Lovejoy. It's my father's bail. It's ridiculous. They want an enormous amount of money and I'm short of about 8,000. I'm sorry, Lovejoy. I've tried everywhere. You know, if there's any other way.
Easy come. Easy go. We'll get him out. In the morning.
We now move on to what I'm calling the Midsomer Murders years. In case you're unaware of the show, it basically features a former Channel Island-based detective called Jim Bergerac spending his final years in the force in an inferno of constant bloody death. And once again, it's all about the train stations, but this time it's Twyford that's the star. According to midsummermurders.org, you can see the station in an episode called Second Sight in Season 3, as Tom and Joyce say goodbye to Cully at Corston Station. It appears again in Series 10, Episode 8, Death in a Chocolate Box, but the station's showbiz life began in Series 3, Episode 1, Death of a Stranger.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
To be frank, virtually nothing happens. A few pecks on the cheek, the train doors open, and the first Great Western service chugs away. But the acting game can be cruel like that. You start off with the biggest of big dreams, wanting to be the next Paddington, but eventually those parts dry up. Your career hits the skids, and you become just another has-been railway station, stumbling drunk out of Los Angeles bars, telling strangers about your former life as a Hollywood big shot. This is the cruel fate that has befallen Twyford, and until the Marvel Universe picks an RG10 station as its next superhero, this is how things will remain. But don't rule that out. Just look at Robert Downey Jr. And on that jolly note, I'd like to say thanks for listening to this RG10 Podcast film and TV special. If you want to actually watch some of the footage mentioned over the last few minutes, there are links in the episode notes. Why not get your friends around and make a night of it? And that's a wrap.